ishrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum everybody and welcome to Ramadan with Zidane. Today is the 22nd of Ramadan and hope your Ramadan is going healthy, wealthy and wise and everybody is having a great time in this holy month. Today we are going to be starting with Surah Rum, which is the 30th surah of the Quran, and it has 60 verses. It is a Makki surah and it is located in juz number 21, which is Utlu ma Uhiya. So without further ado, let's start this surah. This surah has an historical background, a little bit of a historical background in its first 6 to 7 verses. It is about the battle of the Romans and the Persians, which culminated in a defeat of the Romans. We're going to explain that further. So let's start the surah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alif lam mim. This is a huruf muqatta'at. Nobody knows its meaning except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in the the 3 surahs which we have been doing previously, yesterday we did Surah Luqman and the day before that we did Surah Sajda. Now both of these 2 surahs, they had the same huruf muqatta'at. Alif lam mim, we had Surah Sajda. Alif lam mim, Surah Luqman, and now Alif lam mim in the Surah of the Rum. So again we had the same huruf muqatta'at. Then the second verse, Ghulibat Ar-Rum, the Romans have been defeated. Fi adna al-ardi wa hum min ba'di ghalabihim sayaghlibun. In the nearer land, and after that defeat they will be victorious. And then after that, the 4th verse, Fi bid'i sinin lillahi al-amru min qablu wa min ba'd wa yawma idhi yafrahu al-mu'minun. And indeed they will get that victory in less than 10 years, bid'i sinin, in a couple of years, and that is basically accordingly couple of 10 years, less than 10 years, before 10 years. And to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the amr, which is the command, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do whatever he wants. And indeed one day the Muslims are also going to rejoice at that time. So let me just analyze this verse. So first of all, the Romans and the Persians were 2 big empires of that time, and the Persians, they used to be in modern day Iran and Asia Minor. Asia Minor is basically Turkey, which is in Asia. They call it Asia Minor. And the Romans, they used to have a very big empire, and that empire used to be in Rome, and after that it wasn't in Carthage, but aside from that most of Europe was basically Western Europe and Eastern Europe was under Rome. But then they used to keep having a seesaw battle with the Persians. Sometimes the Persians pushed the Romans back into Asia Minor, sometimes they pushed the Persians back into Iran. So sometimes what happened was they keep having a seesaw battle. But then what happened was, sometimes, there was such a big battle that there was a big loss. And what happened was that the Persians, they pushed the Romans, they crushed the Romans in a battle. And after that, they pushed them out of Asia Minor and they went out. So that was a very big defeat for the Romans. They lost the control of Asia Minor to the Persians. But now over here, what was the thing that was related to this that it should have been mentioned in the Quran? Now those people, the Arab pagans, they used to say to the Muslims that they used to say to the believers that these people who were the Persians, they are fire worshippers, they worship fire, and they have won. So they are like our brothers. They have won this, so that means it is a triumph of idolatry over those people who believe in the book, because the Romans, they used to believe in the book. So this was a triumph over that, and the Muslims, they were also not happy about the defeat. The believers were not happy about this. So that is basically said. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this surah, and this surah has it that what will happen is the Romans will defeat them again in less than 10 years. Bid'i sinin means less than 10 years, a handful of years. And then what happened was, exactly in the 9th year, there was a defeat which crushed the Iranians, the Persians, which happened when the Roman general, he went from the Caucasus region. Caucasus region is Armenia, Georgia and Azerbaijan, and he came from the steppes, and because of that Iran was totally invaded and Persia couldn't be saved. So that was also that year when the Muslims got a victory, when the believers, they got a victory at the battle of the Badr, and that was the time when 313 believers, they defeated over a force of 1,000 disbelievers. So that was the time, the year after 9 years after the defeat of the Romans. Now the 5th verse, Binasrillah yansuru man yasha wa huwa al-azizur rahim. This is with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He helps whoever he wants, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Almighty and the All-Wise. وعد الله لا يخلف الله وعده ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. This is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill his promise. He never fails in his promise, but most people do not know that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, is the all-wise and he always fulfills the promise. We are going to talk about this in the coming surah too. What are those three the criteria on which a promise should be fulfilled, and if it does not get fulfilled, why doesn't it get fulfilled? يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. They only know about the outside appearance of the world, which is the worldly life, and they do not know anything about the day of judgment. It's told about the disbelievers. Now, again, I pointed this out in Surah Zumar too, that this is the pattern in these juz, like 23rd juz, 22nd juz, and the 21st juz, that whenever any surah starts, it starts with the huruf muqatta'at, that is one. Then after that, the second one which starts, the second part of that surah is the glorification of the book, first 10 verses, and then the third part of the first 10 verses is about the creation of the human beings, creation of the heavens and the earth. And it is being said as a sign to those who disbelieve. Why don't they think about it? And those who believe too, to see that these are the signs. قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Travel in the earth and see the signs of those people who have been destroyed before them. And just like this, in the next, like the 20th to the 25th verse, again the same pattern will be repeated. أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ وَعَجَلٍ مُّسَمًّى. Don't they think in their self, don't they ponder about their own selves that we will resurrect them one day? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything for a fixed time. That is basically they're going to run until that time when they will stop functioning. And it is I talked about this about the sun too in Surah Yasin, that everything is going for a fixed time. Now when that fixed time will finish, that will not be going again, it will stop functioning, just like the sun. It is going for a fixed time. When it will finish that fixed time, that will stop functioning, just like the moon. So that is the time when it will finish, the sun will finish. وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ بِلِقَاءِ رَبِّهِمْ لَكَافِرُونَ. And indeed, most of the people, they deny the meeting with their Lord, which is the resurrection. Now, this verse which I was talking about a few verses earlier, أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Don't they travel in the lands and see what has been the fate of those people who were before them? Now, Aqiba, it means not only a fate like that mistake that they made, that transgression that they did. Now there is like a certain threshold which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spares those people who disbelieve. But when they commit to ahead of that threshold, which is basically when they cross that threshold, then they are finally dealt with that punishment. Now this is the same story of Yunus alayhi salam, that he did not make them cross that certain threshold. He only tried once and he gave up, which was not really not great solution to that. It isn't really beneficial for anybody. But then Nuh alayhi salam, he preached for a lot of years, 980 years, and still not many people could believe in Nuh alayhi salam. So that is basically the time, striving hard until they crossed that threshold. كانوا أشد منهم قوة وآثاروا الأرض وعمروها أكثر مما عمروها وجاءتهم رسلهم بالبينات. They were superior to these pagans of Makkah in strength, and they used to reap from the benefits, and they were much more bigger in their own strength. That was basically like Ad and Samud. They had much more bigger area, they were a bigger culture, they were a bigger tribe, and they were much more stronger too. فما كان الله ليظلمهم وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not wrong them, they wronged their own selves. They crossed that certain threshold which I was talking about. ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. But then this was the end of those people who did those evils. That evil finally came on those people who did the evil, because they did not listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they denied the verses. Then the 11th verse in this surah, Allahu yabda'ul khalqa thumma yu'iduhu thumma ilayhi turja'un. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala originates the creation, he makes the creation, then he will repeat that creation, and then towards him everybody will return. Basically, that look, I was talking about this concept in Surah Luqman too. A bird before the cage, a bird in the cage, and a bird after the cage. The soul is the one that controls our body. When we die, our soul exits ourselves. So basically, we are still having our body, but we can't move our body, we can't walk, we can't talk, we can't see, we can't hear, we can't do anything. Our body is lifeless, our body is not able to move its own self. So our soul, it moves on. So this is what is being told about it. Then we will repeat, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make us into, well, we don't know what a soul is, so how do we know that? وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يُبْلِسُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. And on that day, when that order will be established, when the day of judgment will be established, those criminals, which are the mujrimun, they will be in desperation, they will be in regret, they will say, give us a second chance. But a second chance is only given when, look, if you are in a test, you cannot be given a second chance after completing the test. You are given a second chance in the test. If you make a mistake, you are given a second chance to wipe out that mistake. So that is basically easy. But now after that, after completing the test, a second chance is not acceptable. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ مِنْ شُرَكَائِهِمْ شُفَعَاءُ وَكَانُوا بِشُرَكَائِهِمْ كَافِرِينَ. And no intercessor will be able to intercess for them. They will not be saved in any way. And those people who they used to associate with, or any idols or any kind of identity that they used to associate with, that will not be able to help them, nor they will help themselves on that day. وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَتَفَرَّقُونَ. And on that day, when that or will be established, those people will be scattered and separated. Basically, the believers will be separated from the disbelievers. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَهُمْ فِي رَوْضَةٍ يُحْبَرُونَ. And those people who will believe and who used to do the good deeds, they're going to be in ever-flowing gardens. Now, there is also different degrees of people who are in Jannah. There's also, first, for example, Jannatul Firdaus. Like in Surah Waqiyah, it has been given that there will be two people. They will be the people of the hellfire and the people of the Jannah. Now, from them, they will be وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. That is basically ثُلَّةٌ مِّنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْآخِرِينَ. They are going to be a lot from the older generations and very little from the coming generations. But they will be those people who are the most closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they will be those people who are the people of the Jannah. A little below, some people are going to be differentiated by their light when they're going to cross the Sirat, which is a slippery bridge over the hell. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has commented on this, saying that some people will have a small light that is not even equivalent to a torch. But there's some who will have such a light that can stretch from Iraq to Yemen, or from Syria to Yemen. The 16th verse now. وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَلِقَاءِ الْآخِرَةِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ فِي الْعَذَابِ مُحْضَرُونَ. But those people who disbelieved our ayat, who disbelieved our verses, and who disbelieved the meeting of the day of judgment, they will be in a torment. فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ حِينَ تُمْسُونَ وَحِينَ تُصْبِحُونَ. So praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and exalt Him and glorify Him in the evening and in the Fajr prayer and the night prayers. So these are the three prayers which are being mentioned over here. Hina tumsuna wa hina tusbihun. Hina tumsuna wa hina tusbihun. In the Fajr, in the Isha, and in the Maghrib. Then after this, the 18th verse, وَلَهُ الْحَمْدُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَعَشِيًّا وَحِينَ تُظْهِرُونَ. And to Him is all the exaltations in the heavens and the earth, and in the Asr prayers and in the Zuhr prayers. So we had the first three prayers that were being mentioned in the 17th verse. Basically those were the Fajr prayer, the Isha prayer, and the Maghrib prayer, and over here the Zuhr and the Asr prayer. Interestingly, we can find that in the Maghrib prayer and in the Fajr prayer and in the Isha prayer, all of those three prayers have, we can recite in them loudly. Whenever there is any congregation, there is the recitation which can be recited loudly, even though it's like incomplete, but still recitation loudly. But in these two, it is not the case. So there are two which are not having loud recitation in them. So is this a coincidence or is this the magic of the Quran? Look at the Quran, how it arranges the verses, how it puts the things in the right order. يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ويحيي الأرض بعد موتها وكذلك تخرجون. He brings out the living from the dead and he brings out the dead from the living, and towards him you will be resurrected. Now those people who are in a darkness, who are not believing, he can bring them out from the dead to the alive. Their soul is dead from the inside, but he can bring them back to the alive and the live time when we can be live and we can listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's call. Now there was this hadith which I've read about, and it is like there were some people who were only an arm's length away from hellfire, but they did so many good deeds till they died that they went back towards Jannah. And there were some people who were an arm's length away from Jannah, but then they did a bad deed and it went them back towards the hellfire. And now the 20th verse, where a new chapter of this surah ensues. We might remember that the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are emphasized upon in different surahs. We had Surah Zariyat, which was about the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then after that we have, for example, Surah Zumar, which was about the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Surah Ghafir. But this juz has a lot in it. Surah Rum, Surah Ankabut, Surah Sajda, Surah Luqman. These surahs have a lot of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told in them. And in Surah Nahl, the same pattern is being repeated, more like the same subject. Over here, it is basically وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ. But in Surah Nahl, it is إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. It is for those people who believe. So just like this, the same subject is there. These are signs. But in this one, it is basically the different pattern, and over there is a different pattern. So starting this verse, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ إِذَا أَنْتُمْ بَشَرٌ تَنْتَشِرُونَ. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, and from his signs, أَنْ خَلَقَكُم, he created you from turabin, from dust. ثُمَّ إِذَا أَنْتُمْ بَشَرٌ تَنْتَشِرُونَ. And then you are people scattered across the earth, scattered across the continents. Now at that time there was the Arabian Peninsula, which was a lot of humans used to live there, but nobody in that peninsula knew that there is so many other continents, so many other places, and that human beings are scattered across this earth. They used to have this geography that basically there are Iraqul Arab, Shamul Arab, and Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera, Arabian Peninsula, they used to think it's an island, but it is a peninsula surrounded on three sides by water. Then Iraqul Arab, which is the Iraq. Now Iraq, that is one part, and Shamul Arab, which is Syria on the left. So these were basically the geographical regions of the Arab land. Now Ibrahim alayhi salam, he migrated from Iraqul Arab towards Al Jazeera. Now Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his whole tribe was not native to the peninsula of Arabia. They were from Iraqul Arab because they were descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So we'll stop for over here in Surah Rum, and I hope everybody enjoyed this tafsir of Surah Rum. Inshallah, tomorrow we're going to start again. I hope everybody has had a great day so far. I hope everybody will have a great Ramadan after this, since Ramadan is ending very soon. ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.